time to start. Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Kingdom of Wetmore. This is great being down here. It's neat for a change. Yeah. Well, let me get him in here. There he comes. There we go. So this is Bill Canada, County Commissioner. It's 9 o'clock Wednesday, July the 14th, 2021. And I would like to invite you all to silence your phones, and I would like to invite Tina to remind me to turn it back on later. On mine, because I always forget and then I lose the phone. This meeting's being recorded via Zoom and via the county clerk, and I bet she's got it going. He's got.
Oh, did you want me to start?
No. So I'd like to call this meeting to order, and let's stand for the pledge, and let's have Chris lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, let's see if everybody's here. Kelly?
Commissioner Kanda?
Here.
Commissioner Flowers?
Present.
Commissioner Day?
Present.
Attorney Torrance Smith?
In attendance.
And Clerk of the Board, Kelly Campbell present.
Okay, thank you. Looks like we have a quorum. Audience introductions. We'll start over here.
Custer, Wetmore.
Okay, say it slow and loud. You got them as you're going here? I bet you already got everybody's name.
Jackie Hobby, Planning and Zoning. Twyla Drew.
Daryl Drew.
Are you with Twyla? Are you with Twyla?
Yeah.
Okay, so West, all right. Wait, let's catch her here.
Kayla Day, Wetmore. Kristen Maloney, Assessor's Office.
Bruce Farr, Wetmore.
Morgan Gray, Wetmore.
Okay, looks like we got.
Administrative Assistant.
Thank you. Okay, real quick, I'd like to amend the agenda just real quick, and all I want to do is move the order. I'd like to have Jackie's time and other people here optimized, and let's, if we could do, I'm going to make this as a suggestion for you two. Consideration of the planning secretary and the SUP before we do the Justice Center. That would optimize it, I think, and here comes Ann also. So if you think that's reasonable, guys, I'd like to make that amendment. Kevin?
I don't have a problem with it.
Okay, so we'll just move the two for Jackie and everybody else that's together. Drag that chair up, Ann. Any other items on the agenda?
None here.
Commissioner items. Kevin?
Oh, a little update. Matter of fact, I could read this one here on the ambulance. The Florence Fire Protection District had a meeting the other night, 2 nights ago, I believe, and they did come to a conclusion to they're going to seek a mill levy to fund paid EMS and fire staff in Florence. Wetmore has been dropped from participating in a special use district from them. That being said, they are still open to setting up an MOU or an intergovernmental agreement with Custer County to provide service for EMS up here for the Wetmore area. So, Florence Volunteer Fire District, or the EMS. I will forward this to you, both of you gentlemen, and they are going to. They had decided to wait till 6 months out to try to put it on a ballot. It looks like now they're still going to go ahead and try to make the deadline for November.
But it won't include Wetmore.
No, it will not. So, but I will forward this to you gentlemen, because they are still open to doing an MOU, which would put us back to the way we were before. so.
I thought I had read somewhere that Florence EMS was gonna be no more. They were gonna dissolve that.
Penrose has, as of July 1st, has stopped providing service because they are suffering the same shortages of personnel. So they have discontinued their service. So Florence inherited theirs too, so, it's just kinda compounding everything, and so they're needing to go ahead and try to get some paid people to where they can keep them on staff.
Do you know then who made the decision not to move forward to include Wetmore on the ballot?
It would be their board of directors,
They being,
Florence Fire Protection District.
But they
And,
included the thoughts of an MOU in their discussion, apparently.
That is correct, and that's included in this email from, Bill Ritter. Okay. They mentioned both, so it probably an IGA would probably be the best, so, that being said, we might wanna maybe set up something to where, one or all three of us visit with them or something down there to kinda see what their plans are a little bit more. Then, of course, I was at the Justice Center meeting yesterday. That'll be coming up here in a little bit anyway. And, I think due to everybody getting out and about and the weather being what it is, I've been catching a few extra calls and emails on, some of the roads. But, I think that's about all I got today.
Good, thanks, Tom.
thanks, sir. I'll go through my calendar, although it's relatively short since our last meeting. On the 8th of July, I did attend the Zoom meeting for Upper Arkansas Water Conservancy District. As I'm sure you're aware, the judge has ruled to allow the, water augmentation application that Upper Ark put in against our wishes, but, that's gonna be moving forward, so. And then on the 12th, I attended the planning and zoning SUP hearing on the Giroux, application. And yesterday, I made a trip to Pueblo and picked up some additional parts for the sprayer for this sink here in the kitchen.
There'll be no more complaining.
Well, it's not done yet, but,
Oh, wait a minute, okay, you can complain.
So I got a bid for a sprayer, it's $576 plus the labor to install. Shannon Byerly sat in on part of the meeting and heard we were having that discussion, so he talked to Kevin and said he had a sprayer. So I went over and looked at it, it wasn't complete, but, the valve component of it was brand new and the hoses, and so, I just went down and picked up the flexible hose and the spray head to go on that sprayer, so I think we saved $300 or $400 there plus installation. We're gonna still have to pay to have it installed, but, so I sent, the plumber the pictures of the stuff, this morning, and I'll hear back from him. So hopefully we can get that installed pretty soon, and you can have a sprayer. Question was, which side of the sink do we want this sprayer on? I'm assuming it'll go on the right side, unless I hear different. Then I'll make the decision, it's going on the right. Bruce not here. Yeah, that I don't know. Pardon?
He votes for the right.
Yeah, I mean, the dishwasher's on the left, right? Correct, sorry. So it makes sense to pre-rinse them on the right, send them down through and into the dishwasher. So, unless I hear differently, that will be the plan, so. And then, as you know, Huff Electric came down and did install these outlets, below the stage, which was a request from the powers to be down here, so we got that project. That's all I have, sir.
Okay, good. I don't have anything extra that is of, interest except one thing, and that would be, maintenance contracts. I'm gonna try to get on the agenda either for the next time or the time after that, a discussion on, getting a county maintenance contract for each of the 4 disciplines: heat, electric, plumbing, construction, so that we've got an ability to do things like this without worrying about hiring somebody and recompeting it. And then as we go into, along those lines with the Justice Center, in the future, if and when we do that, we will have at least something to, we're gonna have to watch our maintenance. We would be applying that towards the OEM on that too, something to think about. So we'll have that discussion later. Also, yeah, that's good enough for now. That's, other things I've been involved in. Don't forget to go to the rodeo and buy a hamburger, because the mayor of Silver Cliff and I and a couple of volunteers are cooking smash burgers. We're gonna be busy the next 2 days, like we were in the past. And I'll bet, we're gonna have a big turnout this year. They, claim 2 jumbotrons and a concert at the end, so what a deal. All right, with that, I would love to hear if the attorney's been doing anything besides stealing my candy.
It's all gone, but I showed up nonetheless, that's dedication. I attended the planning commission hearing on Monday, and that, recommendation that SUP is coming up shortly. I attended the Justice Center, committee meeting yesterday, and there's still problems down in God's country, specifically God's country estate in San Isabel. The guy, as I understand it from Jackie, because he got a permit and was building a deck across the road down there. I think he's taken that down now, but he's still blocking the road. And I communicated with the attorney representing the property owner who's doing that, the sheriff's involved in it, and essentially it's a civil matter. They're gonna have to take this to court and hash it out.
What's he still blocking it with?
Jackie?
You've got tripwires now and rocks and, stuff.
He's barricaded it.
Yeah.
You're gonna have your work cut out for you.
No, I don't have to do anything about it.
Not his
No, it is
That's
not
right,
a
there's. You're right.
And I did communicate with the attorney representing that property owner, but beyond that, it's clearly a civil matter, and they're gonna have to go to court probably, but the ones who can't get to their properties now are gonna have to go to court and get a temporary injunction prohibiting this guy from blocking the road until they can get it all sorted out. But that's not something we do, so. And that's all I've done since, I missed the last meeting, on the 7th, that was last meeting I was at on the 6th, so.
Okay, good. Thanks. How about you, Miss Admin?
I have nothing to say.
Nothing today? Okay. All right, public comment. If anybody has anything to say right now that, might be something we would consider later, a comment on how great the roads are, and I will make a comment on that right now. Going down, Oak Creek a lot, and, the mag chloride really makes a difference, and I know some of you have been on, I think you've got some, don't you, Darryl, out there? And it does make a difference, and it's pretty impressive how long it does last, so. And I've gotten several comments to that, on the good side.
Yeah.
On the bad side, there are still some washboards here and there on other roads, and I would like to make this clear. We're motor grading and maintaining a road that would get you all the way from here to Albuquerque. So think about that during the year. They gotta maintain a road to Albuquerque and keep the washboards out and hit the highlights. So keep the perspective and, pat them on the back when they need it, but if they're screwing up, we need to know about that too. Thanks. Anybody else got a comment?
I would just piggyback on that. I just mentioned that I had gotten some calls and emails on it, but, I think most everybody here's been around the county long enough to know that the roads are in really good shape compared to what they were. So, but it is, the more traffic and the more speed you put on them, the harder it is to maintain them, so.
Yeah, speed kills the road, that's for sure. Okay, any unfinished business? We're at that point if I don't hear any other comments. Jordan, you got anything to say? Jordan's happy, I'm happy. Unfinished business, Tom?
No.
Kevin? Nope. All right, move on. New business, we may set a record today, 'cause I would love to eat some of that stuff, and eat a lot of it. So we've got, a couple things, these will be voted on, and comments will be allowed on, by the public during the discussion on each item. We have 3 items today to consider. And so with that, let's bring the first one on, which is consideration of hiring a planning commission secretary to make minutes for the meeting. Jackie, you got a comment? Are you presenting that, or are we just?
Yes, Vic would like a full-time secretary, and he believes that it should not be one of his planning commission members. And what they would do is take minutes, and they would only take minutes during the planning commission and the BZA meetings, not the short-term rental meetings. The short-term rentals are, we're not taking minutes for them, we're just doing a approval or, so the process does that. But it's the special use permits and the variances, and, so Vic would like to be able for you guys to fork over some money for a secretary, please.
Does he have an idea how much? What, we need a little more
No, but it
data.
would be, probably, what I would suggest is so much every set of minutes. Yep. I don't know how to do it. I just thought that would be a great idea.
You can find,
Because, you know, you might have a large set of minutes, and then the next time you might not hardly have any.
Yeah, I was assuming we would consider, it's really the same thing, instead of per set of minutes, per meeting. It's just a matter of,
time or,
well,
or event.
yeah, it's just language of the thing, I mean,
So I think that would probably be the best per meeting.
per meeting.
So how would we wanna proceed? I would think
Well,
we
it's not.
can authorize going ahead, but we're gonna need to know
Where the money's coming
where the
from.
money,
We
how
don't
much, how
And
many.
it's not coming out of my budget.
Don't count on it.
Except leave at the end.
Gotta come somewhere.
So.
You know what, though, you just bragged, last meeting about how much money you're making extra this year on the, remember that?
I do remember that very
She's
clearly.
turning a big buck, we're talking maybe $60,000.
I can almost quote exactly what she said, yeah.
Okay, but then I looked through the budget, and I'm one of the lowest budget people in the county.
That's your problem, you gotta fix that during the budget meeting.
So I don't have any extra money.
Right.
But
Well,
is there a fund that would be available for something like this?
Not
Or do we have to wait till budget?
no, you don't have to wait necessarily, but it would be a matter of us looking and piecemealing it, we'd have to have a discussion and figure out what he thinks. Somebody's gonna have to talk to him and say, I'm willing to come in for an hour or up to a day, depending on the meeting, right? We've seen that happen, and take minutes. And then we're gonna have to see roughly what that cost is, and then pull it at that time, I think, once we
Does
get the
Vic
data.
have anybody in mind? Has he talked to anybody yet?
No, he has no one in mind.
Okay.
But he was thinking that it would be, get approval, if that would be all right to pay someone, put an ad in the paper, but like, I don't know, I was just thinking like $25 a meeting.
I don't think he's gonna get anybody interested.
You gotta make it worth their while.
Well, and if I may,
Go ahead,
Chairman,
this is a quick discussion.
I've been thinking about this as well, it's not just setting in a meeting, taking the minutes, obviously, most of these minutes are gonna be at the airport, so there's travel time down and back.
Airport.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I like the airport too, but.
I was thinking about the airport because they have a secretary that volunteers. Sorry, no. Scratch that, I keep thinking about what the airport's doing with their secretary position.
Which is,
Volunteer
They have a volunteer.
for the board.
And I don't think she's a seated member. I can't remember now if she's a voting member or not.
She's not.
But, so sorry, I got off on that airport track. So there would be, depending on where they live, of course, travel time. I'm not sure $25 would be enough. I was thinking, if we can find the line item to take that money out of, that probably between $40 and $50 a meeting.
Or take a, how many meetings do they have? See, we need some data. If they have 100 meetings in a year, times $100, let's say, meeting, and make it worth their while, how many thousands of dollars is it?
so we're scheduled for a meeting every month,
Just one.
but we usually only do 3 or 4 a year.
Okay.
Well, I would move that we allocate $50 a meeting for hire a secretary for the planning commission. Initially, if nowhere else, to be paid out of the, community outreach.
Community outreach. Kevin, you,
I would second that, so we can.
all right, then moved and seconded to hire a secretary for the planning commission for $50 a meeting. Let's discuss that. Is that enough? Is 3 meetings, that kind of thing, and out of the outreach?
Well, there's no, as Jackie indicated, there's no way to exactly figure out how many meetings they're gonna have. They meet as needed, number one. BZA may not meet at all, that's, again, meet as needed,
Okay.
so, if the planning commission meetings that I've attended generally last an hour, hour and a half, I think that's fair wage. They'll have to, of course, then, type those minutes up and distribute those. I think $50 is reasonable, especially when it's an unbudgeted item.
Any comments on that? $50, you gotta buy gas to drive in and gas to get home, spend a couple hours. Just throwing it out. Anybody have any thoughts, other thoughts? Kevin? Nope. Good enough for now, see where we go. All right, call the question then. All in favor of hiring a secretary of the planning commission for $50 an hour? We'll take it out of the outreach fund.
I'll do it for $50 an hour.
$50 a meeting, sorry. $50 an hour, I like it. I'd do it for that too.
I'll take it back, yeah.
You take it back. All right, all in favor, say aye. Kevin?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Canned aye.
Thank you.
Now Vic's gotta come back to us. He has a
Well,
hard
we need
time.
to get an ad in the paper, so we'll do that.
Work with Brady. All right, next is the planning commission recommendation for an SUP. Is that you again?
Yes. So during the meeting on Monday, we had a full complement of board members. We had, one alternate sit in, and it was based on the presentation and the hearing. The presentation was done July 7th, and then then after that, the hearing was done Monday, and everyone on the board approved the SUP. Now it comes before you for approval. So you have the letter that I have written in your packet. Tina gave you the letter with the conditions. So I need, approval from the board, and then I need Mr. Kanda to stop by my office and sign the letter.
All right, for the record, let me read this so that everybody knows what the conditions are. So this is to inform you that on July 14th, Board of County Commissioner joint meeting, the Board of County Commissioners voted to approve, if we do, the rough draft, the special use permit for a storage facility on the above referenced parcel with the following conditions. 1, special use permit will be with the applicant. 2, the special use permit will be reviewed on a written complaint basis. The project will comply with all local, state, and federal regulations, and all lighting will be dark skies compliant. The record of this action will be retained in the county zoning office for any future reference. That's the letter is written. I would like, I don't know why it doesn't state what the special use is for the record in the.
Does it not state at the top of the letter?
Well, it just says, notice the county commissioners, it says Twyla Giroux, Darrell Giroux, that's all.
It doesn't have an RE
No.
storage facility?
No,
Just the address.
just the address.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder who forgot that.
So if you had a secretary, they wouldn't have. Who was taking notes in that meeting? Was that you? I think she made a case for getting a secretary.
Getting closer to her.
So we can't sign this today.
No, you don't have a letter to sign.
That's right.
That is just,
A skeleton.
that's a skeleton for discussion. So let me add to the letter, storage unit.
Well, is that all it is? That's not be complete.
Why won't it?
I don't know, I just,
It's a storage facility with cheese.
And if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, you were.
And I would also request, Jackie, you drop the word joint meeting.
Yeah.
This isn't a joint meeting, this is a commissioner meeting. We're not
What?
joining with anyone else.
No, that's right, this is for ratification, this is for us approving what the commission is supposed to be doing, and that's coming up,
Okay,
enforcing the zoning laws,
okay.
or the zoning rules, I should say.
Okay, I'm gonna add storage facility and I'm gonna drop the word joint.
Is there a question about access, which way they're gonna access this?
No, sir.
Because that was an issue that was discussed at the meeting.
But it was dropped because that's actually a county, it's a prescriptive road that's been there.
That road that's going into the gravel
Third Street
pit.
has been there for 100 years, so,
And that's what's gonna be.
Oh, Third Street,
yeah.
that's what I meant.
Prescriptive.
It's
Yeah.
a prescriptive easement,
Because some were saying we use second instead.
yeah, but they don't, they,
What they're
that
talking
was
about.
a
There is
suggestion.
second, doesn't exist on the.
It does, second's way too far, that's your house.
So, Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
and I'm assuming, Jackie, the reason that the easement, the ingress and egress is, the attorney speaking of, is not, on a condition here is because it's in the application, correct? Third Street is listed in the application to access this property.
Yeah.
That's why it's not a
The only
special
reason
condition.
that the dark skies is on there is because a board member wanted it on there.
Right.
It's actually in the application also, but just to move
Well, I thought
forward.
the application said solar lighting. True or false? I didn't see the word dark skies compliant lights in the application.
Okay, so there we go, you won.
Thank you, sir.
And also, I guess we should have to worry about that. It doesn't matter, because that's your personal space, I want to use it.
So we can,
So does the application say they will be dark skies compliant? You didn't consider that when you did
No,
it.
it's solar, so the condition says it, so that's what makes it true.
But that's not, up till now, we've not, it was based upon the use. So you don't see any reason to have a bright light for safety or anything else. So dark skies is okay.
yeah, that's.
That was discussed, all right. Okay, comments?
I would
Buzz.
move to recommend, approve the recommendation of the planning commission to authorize special use permit for the Giroux storage facility on 1100 County Road 160.
Second. And moved and seconded to approve the application for the, special use permit for the Giroux storage, what's it called? Facility.
Do you have a special name for it? I don't, oh, I just wrote that.
Apparently, she's just testing you.
See if she can keep a secret. I haven't seen it yet.
Don't disclose anything to me. I got it just because.
All right, been moved and seconded to do that. Now let's have some discussion. Any other comments from anybody else?
Well, I do have a couple
Go
comments,
ahead.
if I may, sir. Obviously, I sat in on these, both the hearing and the, previous meeting. There has been some pushback about this SUP. I tried to siphon through what I heard from people that knew what they were talking about, and people that didn't have a clue what they were talking about. Some people thought the planning commission was functioning for the town of West Cliff. Obviously, that didn't hold water. Some nearby homeowners expressed some concern at that hearing. And I tried to take that into account on this particular issue. This is not in Zone 1, it's in Zone 4, so we're not encroaching upon, quote-unquote, the valley floor with the business in the county. And I believe it is in close enough proximity to the two towns, i.e. a barbed wire fence separates those, that this is not going to be a negative impact either through the viewscape, through the noise, through the lights, through the traffic. I just don't see that being a big issue. Those were issues that were brought up during that hearing. I'm not going to say they weren't valid concerns, but I'm not sure in my mind they were valid issues enough for me to not support this SUP. I have certainly been vocal about it is our job, it's incumbent upon us to minimize the amount of businesses that exist in the unincorporated portion of the county. I still believe that's true, but I think this is so close to being in the town of West Cliff that it overrides that for me. So I will support this at the time of the voting.
Okay. Kevin? Comments?
I've
Questions?
received, of course, many comments, both for and against. I would think that you guys have addressed that through these meetings, and I was not able to attend these, but many of the complaints that have come are concerns about the future after you first get set up, and then it's there for a while, and then the trash accumulates and it becomes a real bad eyesore. And I would speak to that by saying I would hope that you guys would address those situations to keep it a nice facility moving forward as well, so that it does not become that. That would probably be my biggest comment on that, so that it is a valued part of the community there.
If I may.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I did have another thought I wanted to share with you guys, and that, one of them, comment came from the planning commission, and I wanted to pass that on, and another, I have a comment, myself. This was never brought up during any of the hearings, and obviously everybody in this room probably knows this, but a lot of people, I think, that attended some of those meetings and that, read the papers, whatever, may not understand is, the Giroux family is probably one of the most deeply rooted agricultural-based families in this county, and they have the same values that I think a lot of us do, and I'm not sure that was ever brought to light. And I think that's important, because I believe they have that value system that will want to strive for the same things that a lot of people would have concerns about, and that is, as you mentioned, Kevin, maintaining a pleasant viewscape across that particular property. And then secondly, and this was brought up in the planning, or in the hearing, several, well, at least two members mentioned it specifically, is that they have unequivocal trust in the Giroux that they're gonna do what they say they're gonna do. It's not gonna be a fly-by-night operation, and they're not gonna go against their SUP and so on and so forth. And so I think those are important considerations for us, based on their involvement in the agricultural community, and then, of course, being, upstanding members of the community in general, both business owners. I just don't think we're at risk of this thing going south on us. I have the confidence in that it won't. Thank you.
Good, thanks.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead, Glenn.
just one comment. I really appreciate, as president of Dark Skies, I'm wearing that cap right now, I really appreciate their awareness of the importance of keeping the skies dark. And I just wanted to let you know, our organization would be very happy to work with you as far as the outdoor lighting, to make suggestions as to what you might want to be using, because that's what we're here for. So, thank you for the nod to Dark Sky.
Yeah, they wanna know if you have free lights, and I wanna know if you have money for a secretary position.
You gotta be careful, he'll be giving you a telescope to look for your way out.
We do pay to switch out lights, unfortunately, these are gonna be new installation, so most we can do is suggest what we think would be appropriate. But if anybody, as long as I'm gonna make the pitch that anybody else who has outdoor lighting that glares, shines up in the sky, that Dark Skies will pay to switch those out. In fact, we'll even, for this summer, for the ones in the valley, which is what we're focusing on, we'll, give a 90-day guarantee. If anybody does switch out and really doesn't like the new lighting, we'll switch it back for them if that's what they want.
He's got money, you can get a secretary. You got another comment in the back?
I'm just curious, when planning and zoning states, dark sky compliant, in the approval packet, and this is really good information to me, do they put in what the compliance is, or they just make a general statement, dark sky compliant?
Just make a general statement, because, their, compliance can change from year to year, so if this project goes, takes a year or two, and that's just getting together with Dark Sky.
Well, and right now, there are no lighting regulations in our zoning resolution.
Right, and there shouldn't be either.
And so, dark sky compliant working with dark sky
Because the unincorporated part of the county doesn't have lighting, we did not ever adopt Dark Sky. So we can put conditions on special use permits, so we ask them to be Dark Sky compliant.
So that, Twyla, go ahead, I got a comment on that too.
If we get with you and you direct us, with lighting, and then, the dark skies compliant lighting changes, then do we have to change with it?
No, any lighting that's in existence in the event, there are no regulations, this is suggestion only. And in order for, International Dark Sky Association has requirements for dark sky lighting, if you want to be a dark sky community or other types of dark sky place. But anything that's already in existence is grandfathered in. We would not require anybody to switch out. But that's not an issue now, because there's nothing here, that's subject to any lighting regulations.
Except for us. We're subject to it.
Well, that was,
At this point,
that's a comment I would like to make first, Twyla, before you, because when I first read that, I was concerned about it too, because we do not have any regulations that you will be compliant. And that's why, since you're gonna rewrite it anyway, that word compliant is pretty strong. I think it ought to be complied with as much as possible for the, whatever, I don't know, maybe there's a wording because we don't wanna lead people to believe
exactly what you just said. If you're compliant, you're at the mercy of somebody changing some ideas and costing a lot of money.
How about if we put it as a recommendation?
Yeah, that's,
Dark Sky.
Dark Sky.
What's the name of your organization technically?
Well, our organization is just, it's Dark Side to the Wet Mountain Valley, but we don't come up with the rules. I mean, for the two towns to get certified as a Dark Sky community, that came through the International Dark
Right.
Sky Association.
So it would
So
be as
we're
much
gonna
as
put,
possible, we suggest you comply with some of the
Recommendation to be dark
recommendations.
sky friendly.
Something to that effect, so they've got some flexibility, I mean,
Let's do that, don't capitalize Dark Skies, just, if you're gonna make
Yeah, don't.
reference to Dark Sky or Dark Skies, just
he can work on that.
lowercase, it makes it sound like Dark Skies is trying to order people what to do, and then,
Okay, recommendation to be capital C.
Not
I know it. Jackie, don't worry.
She's being the secretary now.
Yeah, I think that makes more sense,
Yeah,
because the word decline, you're exactly
We're
right.
putting ourselves in a bind, and we're not making that a
Okay, so
regulation.
recommendation to be dark sky friendly, capital D, capital S.
See, the beauty of our zoning is we reach dark skies compliancy because of the density, and the lighting that we can get, so that's, we wanna keep it that
No,
way.
this sounds better.
Okay. I have a statement too, I wanna make sure, and it's not for all of you, it's probably for the people that are new, coming into the valley or into the county from other counties. And it's important to understand that the reason we are only one of three in the state or the country that do zoning. In the whole United States that do zoning. Other counties were asked to comply in 1971 and clean up how they, manage the land and the water. So what we became was an agriculture community first, a rural community. Density was an issue, control the density, as well as the water. Those are the three things. Nowhere on God's green earth, and I'm a fifth generation family in this valley, along with a couple others, that wanna see things change, and we wanna maintain those issues that our forefathers set forth. And I'll be darned if I'm gonna be sitting here and telling you what you can do with your land. Yeah, you know, as long as it complies with the zoning and the planning, that's gone on, and the strategic plan that you all participated in for this community, which is ag, density, and water control, you know, those kinds of things are the key. So that's important for everybody to understand, and, that's why I like what you have done, because you're maintaining the agricultural use of that land. And you can have a business selling tiddlywinks if you want to. I'm not gonna stop you. That's part of our goal, is to increase the economy of this county, to have people and your family stay, your kids, to inherit something and stay here, or the teachers to have a job or whatever. So it's important that we follow that and maintain those things that we're doing. And I applaud the planning commission for keeping that in mind. It's not, a running away with a storage unit that's an eyesore out in some, use of it, you know, is other than agriculture. You know, you can do other than agriculture as long as you maintain those other things. So, want to make that clear. Are there any other questions or comments? Jackie, do you have another?
Usually on the bottom where you said that it's gonna be on file in your office, you usually also put recorded in my office. I'm gonna add that.
Man, your secretary really screwed up this letter.
We probably ought to have it,
Paid $50 an hour, I would do that.
Yeah, $50 worth of work.
they probably need a couple days off.
All right, last comment, anybody?
I would like to make a comment, because I think there's a little bit of confusion, and I don't mean to pick on the newcomers, but during the meeting, they kept referring to it as the valley floor, and I think Bill Donnelly made it clear that the valley floor is not where they are. It doesn't start until the other side of Brave Creek. So I think for newcomers, it's very hard, because to them, and it could have just been, let's throw this out and see if it sticks.
Right.
Also, we don't, as a planning commission, we don't base a decision on a view. Because if we did, then what's ugly to you might not be ugly to me. And then Mr. Shy got up and said that the tower outside his window is now a fake tree, and it blocks his view. Also, when people get up and say, well, my view, okay, no, we don't base things on a view. So I want you to keep in mind too that the planning commission does not go at these decisions lightly. And someone had gotten up and says, well, you allowed a lot of special use permits. No, you don't see all the ones that we have turned down. So I think that people only see the ones that are approved and think, oh, they allowed 2 special use permits this year. Yes, but we turned down 5.
And that is the zoning process. People need to understand. It's not
it's a
randomly granting new things
And it's a great process that has been in place since 1972. And it's a process that has worked and it plays itself out.
And you hit the nail on the head. We angst over dust, noise, and all that other stuff. It's do your best to be a good neighbor.
Correct.
The same with the light.
One quick question.
Right.
You mentioned Valley Floor, North, North, West Street.
But there's still this agricultural ground on the 40-acre plots on the bluff too, so, same.
But
Valley floor
no, that's not considered
Right.
everything west of Great Creek.
is the valley floor, I understand.
It's a different waiver zone.
Right. As is the, what we call it, the Upper Hartsravel, Wetmore Kingdom area as a separate zone, whatever.
Yes, we are, we're special.
Okay. All right, call for the question. All in favor of granting this permit as presented by the Planning and Zoning Commission? Say aye, Tom.
Aye.
Wait, Evans? Kevin?
Aye.
Can I?
Thank you.
Okay, now go out and politic all you can now. Make people understand that this is a process.
Yes, thank you.
And now's our chance to really talk about it.
You heard it, you can never see anything. I said, you heard it, you can never see anything.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we've got consideration of the Justice Center ballot paper question. And I'll let Ann describe that. I want everybody to understand, this is not a decision to put it on the ballot. This is just a process of going forward with it as a process. And Ann will present what she's got here so we all understand what that means. And then we'll have comments.
Thank you all. Thank you. Air shake. Okay, yesterday, the Justice Center Committee met and reviewed, information that's come into us from Piper Sandler and made a decision that a sales tax versus a property tax versus a combo of a sales tax and a property tax was the best way to go. The reasons being, you cannot do a combo tax due to Tabor. It's a one issue, one vote situation. That's summarized their whole page of legalese, and this is just the grassroots information here. As it turned out, because of the sales tax in the past, we didn't think it would work. With the new information of what's happened in the last year and where we're going this year, and with the projections of population, and also I will interject the internet sales tax that's coming in now from people shopping from home. It's seen a significant increase to where the analysis by Piper Sandler is that a sales tax would sustain itself to support funding a Justice Center. based on all of that, the group voted, to go with a 2% sales tax. And just to summarize, so that everybody's on the same page, this was written by Piper Sandler and, some of the members of the committee. The facility will include a new, and I'll give you a copy of this, a new 18-bed county detention facility to improve facility safety, provide designed holding cells, isolate inmates from exposure to the community, and provide the county the ability to house female prisoners. A new law enforcement office designed to serve as a sheriff's office with the necessary security, office space, and secure areas which enable deputies to serve the general public in a safe and secure manner, with isolation from inmates in common areas. A new single-point entry courtroom to provide adequate courtroom safety and space, office area for attorney-client meetings, a jury deliberation room, office for the DA and public defender, a new secure probation office, as well as providing secure and safe space for witnesses, victims, and safe movement of prisoners to and from the detention facilities without exposure to the general public.
Okay, let me say something right there. You're just reading a proposal, we're not voting on the.
No, this is just so that everybody's on the same page of 3.5 years, and the group that worked on it before, 5 years of discussion.
Right.
And this is what it's gonna boil down to eventually in the wording,
Somehow, if we approve.
in a ballot resolution. A 2% sales tax would go for 25 years. One of the issues we have, where we are caught in the middle, is we can't ask for grants and loans and things like that until the voters approve moving forward with constructing a justice center. So to do that, we can't even go apply for anything this year till we get the approval and then apply. The potential is there for quite a bit of money in that. That would reduce the number of years. If we get anything, it would reduce the number of years that we would have to have that sales tax.
Initial projections is how much? 4 years, 5 years, 20%, based on what we know?
Based on the discussions yesterday in the meeting, we could potentially get like $1 to $2 million and also potential of a low-cost loan from 0 to 1%.
We don't know.
Don't know. I can't give you hard facts until we know what we're
Right.
working with. That's one of the issues. So, let me give you a little bit of the, personality of the committee, is that they feel that it's better to put it out to the voters. Every person has a vote, they have a voice. It's not one person saying, I don't want this, and all of a sudden, everything's gone. It gives everybody a chance to voice what they want. In return, what we're asking for is, go ahead and approve that our direction is correct. You're not approving to put it on the ballot, but to continue working on wording for the ballot and the initiative, and to put out information to the community via social media, ads, mailing, that type of thing, bringing us up to the election. We feel that's the best way to move forward. Timing is not the best, but is it ever? That's a subjective opinion of ours. We don't really know how all the voters would feel. But if we delay again, we would continually run into cost increases. We run into potential of the state influence as They've been very supportive of us. They've granted us all the money to do what we've done so far.
Okay, for the record, make sure
Needs
you
assessment.
explain what that means.
Yeah, needs assessments, drawings, architecturals, the, funding group doing a polling, which didn't work out well, and they essentially got fired by not getting paid with that second payment, with that part. But we've done a lot of work. We've gotten the land, the infrastructure's in place in the land, that's paid off in 7 years. So a lot of work has been accomplished. If we delay any more, it's gonna continually cost more and more to go forward. So what we're asking the BOCC, once, to approve us moving forward, to get this on the ballot, and that you will have final approval of, ballot initiatives and wording resolutions. And it's in the drafting stages right now. You should be able to have copies of that today or tomorrow. At the midnight hours, and things got updated in that. And I don't know how to correctly word this to you. You're not approving the 2%, but you're approving that we keep working on that.
Okay, let me propose a motion here so we can discuss it. I would propose that we accept the recommendation to consider a sales tax as a method to which we go to the, without stating whether it's 2%, 5%, or nothing, to the voters with potentially, so I'll keep it generic so we can discuss it. That's my motion.
Could you repeat that, please?
Okay, I move that we accept the recommendation to proceed with moving forward to potentially putting it on a ballot with a money-raising aspect to be a 2% sales tax as opposed to, or no, a sales tax vice a mill levy.
Okay, so your motion is to proceed with to allow them to proceed, pursue a sales tax to go onto the ballot.
Right, at some level would yet to be determined, and whether we'll accept it and put it on yet to be determined as well. It's just, and the only reason I want to do that is to get it so we can discuss it. For example, we need to discuss timing and all that stuff that will allow us to get it to the people so we understand how they be educated. Be my drug. So that's the motion. Keep it simple. Recommend we move forward with the committee to consider a sales tax as the method to raise revenue in their deliberations.
I didn't know if Tom had a
Yeah,
I have a
comment.
question, no, I'm hesitant to second it because I have a question about the motion itself.
Okay.
So why are you avoiding the word 2% when that was the recommendation
Well,
you just gave us?
Only because if they get it, maybe, I don't know, maybe we say 2%, that's fine.
I mean, that's what you're recommending, right?
If you want it to be 2%, fine. I was just trying to keep it more generic, but that's okay, 2%.
Okay, I'll second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to move forward with a method of raising the money, on the ballot with 2% sales
May I
tax.
give you one other comment real quick?
Sure.
From the committee's perspective, in evaluating a property tax, the intent of the committee has been very strong to accomplish what we need to accomplish for a justice center, but also reduce the impact on our citizens. And the fact that the 2% sales tax came up as being viable is very exciting because it shares this across the board and it gives people a choice. Where property tax hits people are
Right.
income, fixed income people and a select group of people versus a wider range of people.
Okay.
So we felt that that was a fairer approach.
Okay, good point. All right, been moved and seconded to do that. Let's have some discussion now on the points she brought up, so I'll open the floor up. Tom?
Thank you. Do you have an estimate of the annual revenue that would be generated by this 2% sales tax increase?
would rather get you the final back. I will put together a packet with the proposed resolution, the sales tax information. They say that an $18.7 million funding would be done in 25 years, based on the sales tax information.
Without any grant assistance.
Right.
And another question, and maybe you can include this in the same packet, but then what would be the final, if 2% sales tax increase was approved by the voters, then what would our tax, I don't wanna call it county tax rate, everybody refers to that,
It would be the
but
combined
what would be the combined tax?
Right, so currently the county is
2%.
Yeah, but I mean, everything included,
I can
combined.
speak to that.
Okay.
Yes, currently it's 4.9,
No,
county
Go,
is
let
state,
Kelly,
right,
the state is 2.9,
right,
county is 2.
2.
So that would make county 6.9.
and it would make that somebody lives in
And
the
it would-
town,
Make Silver Cliff, 8.9.
yeah, almost 9% in the
And West
cities.
Cliff, because they both went up.
Yeah. But the county wouldn't be 6. It would
County
be
would
4.
be 4.
Yes. And so the total combined tax rate right now, sales tax, is 6.9 or 7.9?
6.9.
Are you going for a sales tax or a use tax?
Well, we said sales tax, but in their wording, and this is one area that we have to all clarify, they added use tax in there. I thought they were going just for sales tax. We need to clarify that.
And what did you ask me, Tom?
The current combined tax rate for the residents of Custer County.
6.9. The current is
Current.
4.9.
4.9 county.
I'm talking
No.
about
Combined, county
Combined.
and state.
county, state, and city?
No.
No, because in the county, they don't, you have to live in the city limits to get that. Or purchase,
So-
if
so
you went
here's-
to the grocery store, you would
Yes.
pay
How
that
much?
extra, but
6.9?
6.9.
Yes.
So this would bump that figure to 8.9, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, buying something in West Cliff is 8.9%.
Would be.
Well, I understood they
Would-
were at 3%.
The West Cliff and Silver Cliff both just went up to 3.
3%, so the
So
total,
if,
if you went and bought something in West Cliff, your total would be 9.9.
If this passed,
Yes.
9.9?
7.9
Yeah,
now.
if you pay city,
Oh,
county, state,
yeah.
That's what I was
total
getting
tax.
at, the combined tax burden right now is 6.9, it would go to 8.9.
Your burden for.
I'm sorry, 7.9, would go to 9.9, thank you. Yeah, and then, I guess the final comment, and Ann touched on it, I struggle with a mill levy increase because of that, in my opinion, an unfair burden placed on the businesses because of the valuation, 27% versus 9% on the residential.
Right.
Yeah.
It's easy to spew those numbers, so many dollars per $100,000 of value on a house. Well, that doesn't say anything about the businesses.
Right.
And so, I'm much more inclined to favor a sales tax increase, for the reason you just stated. It's gonna spread the burden upon everyone, including people that don't live here. A mill levy increase, obviously would be absorbed by the residents and the businesses only.
Yeah.
This way, if tourism,
Helps.
continues to
Flourish.
then they're gonna share a part of this burden too. So I think that's, reasonable thinking on part of the committee.
Yeah, and the school mill levy, the businesses learned that lesson the hard way.
Clearly, we're not talking about mill levy here.
we are not.
Only sales tax, no combination.
And a big factor in that was the businesses, and all the exemptions and property taxes around the county. It's not fair, and they're just coming out of the pandemic. If we really wanna be community friendly, this is the best way to go.
Keep the businesses going.
And then one final question, and I'll direct it towards Kelly. Let's talk about the difference between the sales tax and the use tax.
So, use tax is, like, when you buy a motor vehicle, or you buy, construction materials, stuff like that, out of county, you bring them into county, you have to pay that use tax. County tax is a use tax.
So if somebody bought a vehicle in county, they wouldn't pay the use tax.
They would pay
They
the
would
use
pay
tax still, yeah.
But
We
if
get
they
the
do it out, we
Because it's
still
a
collect
sale.
the use tax.
It fails any tax code, yeah,
Thank you.
Kevin learned that yesterday.
yes.
I did, and you weren't there to help me straighten it out.
Sorry.
Kevin,
So,
I've been more interested when Kevin pays.
if he pays.
I have copies of the but, so, I will piggyback on that just a little bit. So if you buy something out of county, do you pay that use tax if the tax that you paid where you bought it on a vehicle, it doesn't matter because they charge you that on the county, but say, you went down and bought a trailer load of building supplies in Pueblo, their tax rates, if their tax rate is higher than ours and you pay the tax in Pueblo, do they still pay that use tax when they come back to Custer County?
Most generally, no. They could show that receipt to Jackie, showing that it will take
Tax is
care
already
of.
paid.
A lot of times, it's because they changed how they paid taxes in the last couple of years, and, which helps with the internet sales thing. If Home Depot delivered you a big load of lumber, you would pay that use tax to us. But if you went down and got it, you would pay their tax, and if it was higher than ours, you would pay that. If it was lower, you'd pay the difference.
Clear as mud. So ultimately, if you buy it out of town and they deliver and we pay our tax rate, does that tax money eventually make it back to us, or is that still in Pueblo?
No,
It's ours.
it's ours,
Okay.
yeah.
Convoluted system.
Any other questions, Ken?
No, that helps a lot.
Okay, anybody else? Because I got a couple here from,
I just have one question, how
Go ahead.
long do you, can you pass this thing around before it makes the ballot?
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up. We have until the middle of, August, actually, I think Kelly said to get it in time. Is that when you needed it? But we get it the 1st of August, if you can. What was your deadline?
My deadline is that I have to have it by that first Friday in September. I have to have wording.
Right.
But I don't wanna push it that far. Also, on Monday, I got an email from Department of Revenue, about some deadlines and some guidelines they have, and I'll get a copy of that to you.
Okay.
But I'm sure if whoever you have that's working on all that, they probably know all this. I'm hoping that they know all
And
this.
they've provided that to us,
Well, they
They did?
provided the,
Oh, good.
the whole set
did it
of
include the revenue?
deadlines. Yeah, I'm looking
From
for it right now.
from Department of Revenue.
Here's our goal
Yeah.
as a committee. I'd like to have it all done by the end of July and bring it to final first week in August, so that we don't miss any deadlines.
That's a good goal, but we gotta be careful, and I'll bring that up here in a second, because we don't wanna rush it and have the wrong thing and people not understand.
Exactly.
Okay?
I have a comment.
Is this Peggy?
It is indeed. Good morning, everybody.
I was gonna use your comment, because you asked me to, if you weren't on, to read your statement, and I was getting ready to do that. You go ahead.
Well, and now my statement really doesn't make any sense because what I thought you guys were going to be talking about is a little different than what you are talking about. I just wanted to let you know I looked up total sales tax in Canyon right now, including state, county, and city, is 8.4. So I have a concern that if we go to 9.9, we're going to lose a lot of revenue, people going back down the hill where it's cheaper.
So, yeah, we gotta be sure it's 9.9, because I'm confused on that a little bit. I thought it was 8.9.
Currently 7.9.
7.9.
I think where that confusion comes in is because both towns have just
Jacked
passed,
it to 3%.
a percent onto
Yeah,
there,
you're right.
so that's,
Okay, well, I was gonna use Peggy's comment as a point, and that is, her original comment was, we're not ready to put it on. And you're right, Peggy, we're at that point now that you understand it a little bit better, the process. So it brings up the point of the deadline issue. We've gotta make sure that we educate the voters. Right now, we've been having public meetings. Everybody's been welcome to come. We've had workshops, and anytime the commissioners are sitting in there, as a couple of them, and we do that, we made it sure that they knew it was a workshop, and we did not vote on anything. But the bottom line is, people have to understand, and Ann made a good point, that's the max limit right now is 18 million. If we wait a year, I'm worried about hyperinflation, the way the country's going, to begin with. That's an issue. Can't bet on the come, don't know, but the longer we wait, the more expensive it'll be. And secondly, the longer we wait, the more the real push on this is safety, and it's the judicial system itself is forcing us. That's what got us doing it in the first place, because of the safety issues with the courtroom was the big deal. And then the jail cropped its ugly head up when we had a busted jail, and we almost had a deputy get killed, actually. It was that dangerous that we were lucky it didn't happen. So those two issues are pushing us a little bit, but we don't want to push the voter if they don't understand what those are. They've not been involved. And that's why it's not marketing, it's not doing that, it's not stumping, it's not trying to campaign. It's about educating the voter so they can make an informed decision. And right now, even though that poll was screwed up very badly, what it did show us is most of the people that did reply are happy, thinking everything's fine. The sheriff's doing a great job and the courts are moving. But that's because they're not sitting there and seeing it, and don't understand some of those issues. So it's very important, and that the wording on the ballot makes it crystal clear that there's options that we are gonna pursue to reduce the life of that loan. And I don't know how we're gonna do that yet. I don't know what possibilities are, but that's part of your challenge in the committee. Tom?
Thank you, sir. In an effort to answer Mr. John's question, according to the information provided to us by Piper Sandler, the company we've hired to help us sort all this out, July 23rd is the date of 100 days prior to the election, when the government entity has to notify the county clerk in writing if it has taken formal action to participate in the election. Let me go on, then I'll have a question. Kelly, then the second date, not less than 70 days prior to the election, August 24th, the government entity executes an election ITA with the county clerk and identifies its designated election official. And then the third one that's appropriate, I think, for now, there's other dates, but not less than 60 days before the election, September 3rd, the designated election official certifies the ballot issue and the ballot.
That's your deadline.
So, in my opinion, if we vote to move forward, then we are taking a formal action to participate in this election. If that's not the case, then we don't have to meet this 100-day deadline. But if it is our opinion that we are taking formal action to participate in the election, then we need to provide that in writing to Kelly before July 23rd. As I read the information they've given us, and the statutes are listed here, most of those are all 1-7-116.
So what you said then, the 23rd of July is when we formally say we're going to the map.
We have to give it, provide it in writing.
Right.
I think they were
Take a
referring
formal action, which would, I suppose we could provide you with a copy of the minutes of today's meeting, that would be in,
Well, in my discussions with Secretary of State's office, I don't need that. I know you guys are, I mean, I do the minutes, so I know.
right.
To me, you're, and they said that it's a little, because of
Yeah, that's good.
the connection between the clerk and the VOCC, we don't have to be as formal with an IGA and
Because you already
everything.
know.
Yes, because we already know.
Check the minutes, we made it again.
I feel like, because you guys have to do a resolution with that question, saying, you know, we're
Here's the
gonna put this on the ballot. To me, that's my notice. When you do that resolution, that's my notice, that
Yeah.
it's gonna go on the ballot.
Good.
I would assume then we will have that sometime during our August calendar of BOCC meetings.
Got 3 meetings coming up to do it in.
They're gonna have the draft, probably today or tomorrow.
Don't rush. Get it right.
It's up till midnight
Get it right.
So then I
And we
would,
have to have Clint review it also, so we make sure we have everything in proper order.
And it has to be sent to Department of Revenue so that they can review it. And one of the things that Secretary of State, told me also is that, CIC is a great place for you guys to reach out to for help on that also.
CCI.
Or
CCI.
yes.
Colorado County in court.
Yeah.
Well, I would maybe recommend then we look at August the 3rd as an
Yeah, that's
agenda
what I-
item.
Put it as a placeholder.
You have a short fuse.
Yeah. Well, that just gets us, we still submit the final ballot words by September, whatever it was. Takes a little time.
To educate.
Right.
Well, and your question's gonna be on that resolution,
Right. On that date.
on the, if you do it
Could
on
be the-
August 3rd,
Or-
that
or-
would be your.
You could do it then,
Cause
or
you
we
don't-
could wait till that resolution.
You don't wanna educate your public in your question,
No,
because
no, you don't.
the longer your question gets, the more
No, we don't wanna
expensive
do
it
that.
gets.
That's right.
So, yeah.
But we can do the resolution on the 30th of, August, and still meet the deadline. No, I was thinking,
Oh,
move it
July.
of August, we could still meet the intent. Your actual deadline, you said, was the 3rd of September.
But she just also stated that has to
It
go
still have to go to
to
state.
Department of Revenue and
Yeah,
everything
as
else,
long
so
as-
then that
as long as
shortens
all
our
those
timeline.
people have
mid-August,
approved it
maybe.
before then, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, whatever you can do before that, maybe we need enough time to get the right words.
I would say probably August 3rd would be towards the outside of we're cutting it thin anyway.
we can do it on the 30th, it doesn't matter. 3 or 4 days won't make a whole lot.
No, 3rd is probably better.
I would think the 3rd would work good.
I'm good with the 3rd.
Yeah. All right.
So that would be consideration of the ballot language, correct, proposed ballot language. Is that how you see it?
So if the language is not right, you still can slip into the middle of the month on another resolution, right? I mean, that's the way it sounded. And you still have plenty of time to meet your deadline.
Our next meeting is July 30th.
Right, so 2 weeks. So, sounds like if that's not right, we still can go into the next 2 weeks and still meet the deadline, if it's necessary. Gotta have some wiggle room.
I'm gonna try to interpret Ann's look there. I'm wondering if she's thinking the sooner we do it, the sooner we get to educating the public.
Well,
That's correct. Also, if you have, let's say Clint comes in and says, all this needs to be changed, something, and Kelly says, no, it's too long,
we got 2 weeks to go to fix that, is what I'm
could you
hearing.
look at it
After
on
the 3rd.
July 30th? Now,
Could go
come
in-
to every
could.
meeting if I have to.
Well, that's right, we'll go to the 3rd of August, is fine, or
Okay.
whenever, if you're comfortable with it, sooner, I don't care.
We meet again on the 18th of August if we had to make changes.
Right, and then August 18th is plenty of
If we
time.
couldn't get it on the 4th agenda, we wouldn't have time for that. If we did it on the 30th, then if we had to make some changes, we could reconsider it on the
Yeah.
3rd or 4th.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter to me.
Would you be able to be ready for the 30th?
No, I don't wanna do it on the 30th. That means jam. It's only, what is it, 3, 4?
It's not the number of days between, it's if we have to make changes,
Right.
then we'd have time to put it on the 3rd and 4th if we do it on the
Do that.
30th.
And then we still have time even after that to go to the middle of the month.
Here's where it's at right now.
I don't like it.
I know. That's why we need to really
So
work
apparently
this
you've
thing.
seen something we haven't.
Yeah, Kevin and I got, we didn't comment
Well-
on it, never said a word on it, but
What we saw is what she read to you a while ago.
Oh,
This is not,
That's not-
you have
not in the right
seen-
language.
You have not seen this one.
was that new one?
This was 11:30 last night.
Oh,
No, the only thing we saw is what she read, or what
That was
you,
an insert of
yeah,
what the Justice Center is.
it was an example.
And I know there's edits coming to this already, and will be changed today. I guess my feeling is, to get this right, we can't wait till August to say, oh, we gotta have 3, 4 more times this meeting to get together on this.
no, I think you're right, and I'm just looking at the worst case and all.
Okay.
So you come in and the 3rd, and it's perfect,
I haven't seen anything on the 30th
you
meeting.
see it on the 4th, or we can do mid-month or something like that. Let's take a,
we only have 4 items of new business other
Right
than
now,
payroll on the 30th,
right,
so.
so it's looking
I'm sure
pretty
it's
good.
here,
We can do it on the 30th,
Well, yeah,
if you're ready.
July 30th
I'll
agenda.
be ready.
Well, we got time to move it if you have to, so
Yeah,
before that, we'll get on it
I
time.
would agree. I would feel more comfortable.
Wildfire,
Alright,
old
I'm
man.
ready for the 30th.
yeah.
I'm good with 30th, those shouldn't take very long. I had seen that.
Okay, good.
Get that,
I'll add it to July 30th.
Thank you.
Any other comments from anybody?
I have
Go ahead.
one.
Oh, hang on, Chris is first. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay.
Actually a little bit confused, I thought the day we were actually supposed to put on the ballot. So my prepared comment is kind of irrelevant, and perhaps Peggy piggybacks off of my thing. The one thing I would like to say today is, I know a lot of work has been done on this thing for years now. A lot of people in the county, I take that. What I don't like is, I think that what is being sold on the Justice Center side of it is not entirely accurate. Everybody that is addressing the jail is telling the county, but that's what we're receiving anyway, the information is that the jail is unsafe. And that is not true. I worked in that jail for almost 2 years. The assault that recently happened had nothing to do with the facility's security itself. The set of keys that was carried inside the pod, which created the escape, was because there wasn't enough detention staff to allow a single person to go in the pod. Any jail in the whole U.S., you're never supposed to go right in the pod with the jail keys. We all know this. So what I disapprove of is the messaging on the jail side. Saying that it's a security risk is not true. It's got problems. It's got plumbing problems, electricity problems, it's got problems. But pressing it as a safety issue to the county, like, if we don't do this, we're gonna have a security issue at the jail, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think you could find any of the escapes, assaults, or issues that had happened in the last 5 or even more years that actually anything to do with the facility itself. All of the escapes that I'm aware of are procedural. Burying the keys in the pod, that's a procedural problem. It's not because the door just would swing open and somebody can just pull. That's not true. I don't think that is the correct messaging on that. Yeah. And I don't disagree that we've got to address it. And I try not to make light of the work that's been done, but the messaging to the public can't be, in my opinion, that these guys are just gonna escape if we're not here. They're not gonna escape. They can't get out of that building.
Gotcha. That's a good point.
I have a question, that I'm assuming you're getting ready to call for the question.
Yeah.
Some other debate or discussion. Has the committee taken into account the operation and maintenance.
That has not been, how do I word this? It is a consideration. What I know and what in doing cost analysis is that when you have a building that comes in that is more up to date with equipment, technology, that your costs will either be the same or go down, or even slightly higher. But it's not going to be drastic. The other thing in labor with deputies and things like that, we're not even up to the number that we were supposed to have, and that was, they can operate with what we're supposed to have. I wish Shannon could have been here, he could speak more eloquently about it, but it's talking about addition of 2 people. The situation that Chris was talking about as far as monetary, that is involved in the technology where you don't have keys. There's a central monitoring system. So you have additional technology. I know that can be expensive, but I don't think we can get there until we know what we're gonna be able to construct. Because the buildings, the planned buildings can be cut down to bare bones even more and add on later. But anytime you do that, you're extending out increased costs anyway. I'm going in a circle here because I don't have a hard fact numbers.
Yeah, I just wondered if the commission had, or the committee had.
Well, we are well aware of it.
They discussed that a little bit, Tom, just, what I saw, and, recognized there is a little bit margin in their number on the 2% that could be applied to it, and that's one of the reasons I mentioned the O&M. We have O&M now on the current building. We just don't, we just ad hoc it.
Yeah.
And there's the actual money. So, a good point that Tom's bringing up is we need to budget for the O&M eventually, and, include that, and then we need to get a real handle on the technology. Will make it easier to maintain, and it'll make it easier to operate as well, but we don't know the details.
Clearly, this ballot initiative will address with the construction of the building only. No furniture, no additional labor. I thought Shannon had said probably 2 to 3 additional law enforcement people. And then maintenance and janitorial staff, furniture. So, yeah, I agree. I think at some point we'll have to see what that budget looks like. It's not, that expense would not be included in this ballot initiative.
Partially in that, there might be enough left, if that's the case. Usually that's not the case. We're gonna eat up every dime. Peggy's got a question
If I can,
before you go, and Peggy, you still have your question?
Well, no, I think it's been answered, but I want to commend Chris for taking the time to do his analysis. And I agree with him that the safety issue is not what we need to focus on in terms of educating the public. And we really, really need to educate the public.
Yeah, and you're right. It's size, female issues, it's those kinds of things that are necessary to be ready for 2 or 3 years down the road.
I guess that's another comment, we haven't housed females in the county for quite
Right,
some time,
and we've been paying it.
and we run them down the hill.
Yeah.
The problem we're running into is, I think too, to run the new post-detention facility, we're not gonna be close to that still. I mean, there's not gonna be 2 more bodies on the required for that.
I don't know that.
And right now, the automatic door opening system exists in the jail today.
Yeah.
I know there's new technology to do the same thing, but any of the jail staff can open any of the doors and any of the pod doors, outside, everything, from inside the control center.
I understand.
So
Steve?
right, so that stuff already exists there, so that's, again, I get that, it's nice, it's new, it's cool to have new things, but can we afford it?
That's the point, Chris. We have to, because this is not being done to have cool new things. That's the point.
Well,
And we have to educate it along those lines. But I understand that, and that's what confuses the public, is they haven't been listening to the issues that we have to understand what when we develop the real requirements for this.
Right. The last time at Liberty Rocks, we brought up a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And I sent a lot of emails in
That's part of the education now,
Exactly.
for,
But if we're not gonna put it on the ballot, there's no need to spend all the money on the education part of it. So
well,
we gotta ramp it up for the following year, that's my whole point.
Yeah.
I don't think we're ready to do this year, so I'll leave it at that until we get to today's vote.
any other comments?
I would speak to some of this, the safety issue at the jail is not the only concern, although it is a concern. You can't, I don't think any of us can say that it is not a concern. There are some issues that do pertain to safety at the jail, and it's not all procedural. I would personally say that. But that is not, I agree, that is not the only issue, but it should be part of the conversation as well. And that is my comment on that.
As long as we're specific about safety, we've got water safety, power safety, that kind of safety is one thing, but it feels a lot like we're being led to believe that the jail is not secure, and therefore people can't escape. There's been escape.
That's part of the problem, though, is people hear things, and
Exactly.
there's not, it's the education hasn't occurred.
Right.
Okay. You have another comment?
I was just gonna say, it was also the issues around the courtroom. It's a combo.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
big
I'll
issues
just
with
give
it.
I don't think we're thinking that jail
plan.
safety is the only
Only
reason
issue,
we're going
that's
No.
exactly right.
forward.
That cost goes to that.
The other thing I wanted to comment, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Go ahead.
I think this will wrap it up for me. I've already heard, yeah, you commissioners wanting to raise our taxes. That is absolutely not the stinking truth. The truth is, if we move forward with this, we have decided to allow the voters to decide if they want to raise the taxes. We're not going to raise their taxes. All we're going to do is give them an option or the opportunity to decide if they want to raise their taxes by 2% to pay for a new justice.
That may be turned down.
I'll vote just like all of us will, but we don't have the authority to raise the taxes.
That's why it's really necessary to educate them, because when that happens, if it happens, they need to understand the impact of turning it down, because the underfunded courts are gonna force our hand in a way that will be very expensive, could be very expensive in the future. So, something to consider as we go down the road. All right, anybody else? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor of the motion to accept the recommendation to go down the path of a 2% sales tax as a method of funding this on the ballot, say aye. Tom?
Right.
Kevin?
Aye.
Kanda, aye. So we'll meet on the 3rd, or on the 30th, to see where you are. And then we'll go from there. And we'll see how the issue's gonna be, how do you educate the people now, and what's the plan gonna be. Chris?
So just so I'm clear, so the 30th, are we just gonna consider this again, or are we actually, or the commissioner?
We're gonna look at the ballot itself,
That's the,
and the actual cost.
So the 30th is the day that you're gonna say it's going on the ballot or not?
Right, that will be a decision, and it may be not, it may not be ready, because we do have a little bit of pad there to get it, and still meet the deadline if we decide to go forward.
Thank you.
Okay, any other comments on that? We're done, and if there's any additional items of business, is there anything you have in mind?
I do not.
Kevin,
None here.
other than your car, cleaning your dog hair?
Looking good.
Okay, public comment on anything else? I like quiet. All right, hearing none, I will adjourn this meeting at, oh, you had a hand?
I just have a comment. Your new veteran service officer, Jared, do not get rid of him.
Say it again?
Please, don't get
Don't get rid of
He's
Jared.
wonderful.
The comment is, we do not get rid of Jared, the VSO, what's his last name? McLean. Jared McLean is doing a great job, and, so thank you for the public comment on that. It'll be nice for him to hear. All right, not hearing any other comments, I'll adjourn this meeting at, 10:35. And a half.